Oh, hey everybody! It was sitting there a long time. I thought it hung up. I thought it was about to crash. Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? Anybody get rained on today? All right, let's do some shout outs here tonight. Turn this off. Let's do some shout outs here tonight. Congratulations to Amy for being the first comment. And Cheeseburger. That's a pretty good choice. Hey, Dave, Amy, Justin, good to you guys. Hi, Jan and Scott. Jan made both chili and veggie soup today, and they both were good. Scott, this is my jealous face. So, hey, Tina, Mike Bird, appreciate you coming out tonight. Hi, Teresa. Amy's asking for prayer for a friend Harold's having back surgery soon. Certainly there. Jess Mack is in the house. How you doing, Jess? Hi, Daryl. Hey, Linda Horn. Joe and Marcia Bowman, you guys are tearing it up here with these comments. Good job. Hey, Sherry Louth. Hey, Cheryl Miller. Margie and Doug Whitling, how you doing? Hey, Crystal and Bill. Hey, Linda Burkholder. Tim and Candy are in the house. Hi, Bill Hard. Bill, thank you for your text today. I did get it. I was irresponsible and didn't respond, but thank you for sending that. And I appreciate you saying something, so thank you. Christina, good to see you. Hi, Deb. Hey, Kevin. Hi, Angie Myers. All right, close this down. Well, everybody, I got a couple of announcements before we get started. We'll let a few more people jump in real quick. Couple things. Hi, Beth Reedy. Hey, Suze. A couple things. First of all, I was reading through tonight's lesson, and we may finish with Daniel tonight. There's not a whole lot of content in these last two chapters. It's more of a kind of a history. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We may do something different tomorrow night, just because I don't know how. I don't think I can stretch what's left here over two nights. So, hey, Joyce Koenig. The party is now started because Joyce Koenig got a haircut today. And I am very jealous. As you can see, I checked 3 different times with the wait at the barbershop, and the shortest time was 70 minutes. And so, yeah, it was crazy. There was no getting in today. So I have another day of growth on this mess. So anyways, so I don't know that I'm going to be able to stretch what's left with Daniel for 2 nights. So tomorrow night, I may take requests. Tomorrow night, because I don't want to start. I don't want to start this book because obviously many of you don't have it, so I don't want to go there yet. I want to wait till Sunday on that one, but or maybe Monday, depending on what happens Sunday night. But we will have something tomorrow night, and maybe we can have a discussion on what that will be toward the end. But I just don't know if I don't know if there's enough content here for 2 nights. Second thing I have, I haven't been home for a little bit, but I got an email confirmation today that the books, the rest of my books were delivered at my house. So it means I'll have them to distribute. However, if any of you have looked at the weather report for Sunday, you will decide that Mother Nature hates people going to church. So, yeah, rain does not look like it's going to be our friend on Sunday. So I don't know what's going to happen on Sunday. If for whatever reason we don't have a service here, we will have something. There will be something. It will either be online or it will be here in the parking lot for Awaken. First Light will be a premiere on YouTube, and it's already uploaded. So if you jump over to our channel, you can set a reminder for the First Light service on Sunday morning. That's already ready to go. But so I don't know what Awaken's going to be. I don't know if we're going to be able to be here or we're going to be online. I don't know yet. So if we're not here, if we're doing an online service, I need to know who I need to deliver books to. And I will make the Beetle tour around and deliver books to people who live in the area, which means not Teresa Bitters. I'm not driving to DeGraff, but Some of the rest of you who want books, who can't get them digital, who want books, I need to know that from you so I can get you on the list. I gave one to Sherry and I gave one to Cheryl. Those two people, Cheryl Cook has one. So for any of the rest of you who want physical copies of the book, I'll be happy to get those to you. I just need to know who they are or who you are, and we'll work on it from there. So, okay, again, I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to figure it out. Maybe we'll know more for tomorrow night. Obviously, we will know more by tomorrow night's live stream. But stay tuned. So there'll be some stuff going on there. So all right. So while we're doing this lesson, I want you to get some thought to what you want to do tomorrow night, because I just don't feel like these last two chapters of Daniel's are going to stretch over 2 nights. There's a lot of words here, but it's a lot of history. It's not. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it can become interesting, but it didn't strike me as being something that we could get 2 nights worth out of. What's left. So okay. All right, Teresa, text me and we'll figure something out. I'm only doing 1 night, Amy. I can't do Samson in 1 night. So we'll get to Samson at some point, but not in 1 night, because there's a lot of content for him. Tell you what we may do. I will offer you the book of Philemon in the New Testament. We haven't done any New Testament stuff. I'll offer you Philemon. It's 1 chapter in the New Testament, and it is a great study. In fact, I'm not even going to tell you anything about it. I've studied Philemon quite a bit, and it's a great letter. And I would actually love to go over that with you guys. It's a lot of fun, and it's short. It's 1 chapter. It's like 24 verses or something. And yeah, so that's what we're looking at. Candy Dickey, any idea when we can attend church inside? No. Based on the conference call I had with the conference, based on what I hear from the governor's office, and based on what I'm even hearing from some folks around here, we are nowhere even close to being back inside. And I'm sorry to have to tell you that, but people are, and you know, whatever your feelings about the situation is, there are people who are legitimately terrified of this virus, and I just don't know that with the amount of precautions we would have to take to have services inside, I sincerely don't know if we could do everything we would have to do, because at least at this point, and we're not supposed to gather in groups bigger than 50 anyways, apparently, so, or 10, or I don't know what it is right now, but so we are a long way from being back inside, and I hate that more than anybody else here. So what is happening with confirmation? Phil and I talked about confirmation. What we're going to do, he had a couple of ideas, and we talked about it. We're going to confirm the kids whenever we get back. So that's kind of the plan. Whenever we can get a congregation back together, Phil said for the parents he talked to, that they would prefer to do confirmation when we're back together. So we're just going to hold off with it until then. I know Phil's been doing some stuff with the kids, sending him things over email. I'm not sure what it's been, but he has been in touch with them from what I understand. And so we'll be doing confirmation at some point. It's kind of like everything else right now. Yes, Candy, I agree. But it's where we are right now. So, I mean, I don't want to say anything else, because my opinion about this doesn't matter. It's what we can sustain. So, so that's where we are. And, you know, be thankful we're able to do online. Be thankful we're able to do online. I know it's not the best. Believe me, I know. And I know not even being in the parking lot, I mean, that's great for what it is, but it's not ideal. And so just know that we're doing the best we can with what we got to work with. I'm grateful we have this format, because if it wasn't for this, we'd have nothing, and that would be significantly worse. So Yeah, Joyce, I bet it was quite an ordeal. Where did you go, if you don't mind me asking? Where did you go to get your haircut? And I think it's weird that I can go to, I can walk down the street here to Family Video, and I can walk in and rent a video from some kid working behind the counter, but I can't walk into a church. I don't know. That to me all seems weird, but um, I don't know why the virus kills church people more than anybody else. But sorry, I promised I wasn't going to say anything. And there we are. Cool. So, Joyce, I'm just curious what kind of precautions you had to take and whatever. So, all right. Well, speaking of global pandemics and all that kind of fun stuff, we're going to talk a little bit about these last probably. I don't know if we're going to make it all the way through both of these chapters, but Salina here to please. Okay, because I usually go to Great Clips out here by Kroger, and I was kind of wondering. So, all right. From what I can gather, chapter 11 and 12 is, if you guys remember, the name I assigned to the angel because he didn't get a name, and I called him Bronze Arms. This little talk here seems to be a talk between Bronze Arms and Daniel. So Daniel is in the process of having the swimming pool is allowed to open. Oh, I didn't think they were going to open any pools this year. I mean, I'm not sure why the chlorine wouldn't kill whatever it is, but So Bronze Arms is talking to Daniel, and he's going to be delivering a series of prophecies and a series of instructions, I guess we could say, about what we want to have happen. So, all right, I'm at Daniel chapter 11, and we'll start reading here and kind of see where this takes us. Okay, Daniel chapter 11, verse 1. The very first verse, I'll read it. The very first verse here it says, I have been standing beside Michael to support and strengthen him since the first year of the reign of King Darius the Mede. So Bronze Arms has been a supporter of Michael since Darius stepped into power. And if you remember, the spirit prince of Persia was giving Bronze Arms some problems, and Michael stepped in and said, stop doing that and let the angel in. So then Bronze Arms got to come in and find Daniel and speak to him. So, okay. So Bronze Arms now has come in. Daniel was really kind of overwhelmed by his presence and overwhelmed by what was going on, and kind of just, he passed out and was having a heck of a time. And so now Bronze Arms and Daniel are kind of cool with each other. And so now Bronze Arms starts to talk. All right. Now then, I will reveal the truth to you. 3 more Persian kings will reign, to be succeeded by a 4th, far richer than the others. He will use his wealth to stir up everyone to fight against the kingdom of Greece. So the kingdom of Greece, which we know as the Romans, was going to come in, and the Persians were going to fight back against them and try to get everybody together. And obviously, hindsight's always 20/20. We know this doesn't work out for them. Verse 3, then a mighty king will rise to power who will rule with great authority and accomplish everything he sets out to do. Any of you who have a study Bible or a Bible with some notes in it, see if there's a note on verse 3. I'm just curious if your Bible gives any speculation as to who this leader is. I have a guess, but I'm curious as to what your Bibles may say. So if you're looking at a study Bible, look down in the notes on Daniel 11:3 and tell me if it speculates as to who this great king was. Okay, verse 4. But at the height of his power, his kingdom will be broken apart and divided into 4 parts. It will not be ruled by the king's descendants, nor will the king hold the authority it once had. For his empire will be uprooted and given to others. Okay, Alexander the Great. That's who I was expecting it was Alexander the Great. And Alexander the Great, it kind of, that's when the kingdom of Persia started to fall apart. Then the king of the south will increase in power, but one of his own officials will become more powerful than he and will rule his kingdom with great strength. You see how specific Bronze Arms is being? I mean, he's really saying, okay, so they break into 4 and the one at the south, and then this guy rose. I mean, he's being very, very specific about how this is going to happen. Verse 6. Some years later, an alliance will be formed between the king of the north and the king of the south. The daughter of the king of the south will be given in marriage to the king of the north to secure an alliance, but she will lose her influence over him. See, very, very specific. Lose her influence over him, and so will her father. She will be abandoned along with her supporters. But when one of her relatives becomes the king of the south, he'll raise an army and enter the fortress of the king of the north and defeat him. When he returns to Egypt, he'll carry back their idols along with him, along with the priceless articles of gold and silver. For some years afterward, he'll lead the king of the south alone. Again, extremely specific. Much more specific. I mean, we were able to interpret, and we've done that throughout the study on Daniel, where we could, plug in some of what we're reading into history and how that stuff all fits together. Here, very, very specific, following the teachings and example of Alexander the Great, and that who was Roman, but this is also talking about some of the Persians. It's just kind of a confusing mess. When he returns to Egypt, I read that one already. Verse 9. Later, the king of the north will invade the realm of the king of the south. Now notice, this is infighting. This is not the Greeks. This is not the Romans. This is the empire of Persia fighting each other. Gosh, is any real surprise that their empire fell? I mean, inner turmoil will destroy a kingdom faster than, I wouldn't say anything else, but a lot of other things. Inner turmoil in an organization, any kind of organization, is not going to be good. And certainly when you're trying to run a country, or no, I shouldn't have said country. When you're trying to run an empire, that's definitely going to be a problem. Verse 10. However, the sons of the king of the north will assemble a mighty army and will advance like a flood and carry the battle as far as the enemy's fortress. Then, in a rage, the king of the south will rally against the vast forces assembled by the king of the north and defeat them. See how much inner turmoil is going on here? This is what overthrew the Persian Empire. And understand the Persians, from an Israelite standpoint, they were very popular. They really liked, Cyrus was somebody looked up to extremely well, because the Persians were like, look, all you want is a descendant of King David on the throne. We can do that. That way we control that guy. We control everybody. And that's kind of the way they did it. And so because they put the descendant of King David on the throne, they thought he was just all that and then some. So things were going well during the reign of King Cyrus, but later there were some other problems that came along. Verse 13, a few years later, the king of the north will return with a fully equipped army far greater than before. And at that time, there'll be a general uprising against the king of the south. Violent men among your own people will join them in fulfillment of this vision, but they will not succeed. So, Daniel, even some of the Israelites are going to join in this fight, he says. Some of your own people are going to get in this, but they're not going to be successful. Then the king of the north will come and lay siege to a fortified city and capture it. The best troops of the south will not be able to stand in the face of the onslaught. The king of the north will march onward unopposed. No one will be able to stop him. He will pause in the glorious land of Israel, intent on destroying it. He will make plans to come with the might of his entire kingdom and will form an alliance with the king of the south. He will give him a daughter in marriage to overthrow the kingdom from within, but this plan will fail. So all this fighting is not going anywhere. So the king of the north says, well, hey, let's have a treaty, and you can have my daughter as a wife. And he apparently was going to use that connection against them, but the king of the south kind of saw through it. Just a lot of manipulation, a lot of lost life, a lot of shed blood, a lot of bad feelings, a lot of hatred. You can imagine when the Romans started to rise up that there was nobody left to fight because they'd taken each other out. Okay, so after the plan to overthrow the kingdom from within, so once one king was trying to throw a coup on the other, when that didn't work, he turned his attention elsewhere. Verse 18. After this, he'll turn his attention to the coastland and conquer many cities. But a commander from another land will put an end to his insolence and cause him to retreat in shame. He will take refuge in his own fortress, but will stumble and fall and be seen no more. So, again, a lot of details. Foreign power now getting involved. Whoever that was came in and kind of put the kibosh on the taking over the coastland. Okay, so that king apparently dies, and they got a successor. Verse 20. His successor will send out a tax collector to maintain the royal splendor. But after a very brief reign, he will die, though not from anger or battle. So natural causes of some kind, apparently. Verse 21. The next to come to power will be a despicable man who's not in line for royal succession. He will slip in when least expected and take over the kingdom by flattery and intrigue. Somebody rising to power very unexpectedly, doing it through flattery and intrigue. Does anybody see a possible problem with that? Yeah, this is not no good stories ever followed that line. So slipped in when they least expected it. He got there by flattering and intrigue. This is probably not good. Before him, great armies will be swept away, including a covenant prince. Whatever a covenant prince is, I'm not familiar with that terminology. Verse 23. With deceitful promises, he will make various alliances. He will become strong despite having only a handful of followers. So things seem to not be going well for him, yet he always is going to come out ahead. And again, the guy's a wheeler dealer. He's a somebody who responsibility never quite stick to, and he always seems to come out ahead in whatever dealings he makes, even when it seems like he's helping you. It's a shifty guy, and you want to watch out for people like that because they'll talk you into doing work and make you feel like they're doing you the favor. And so this guy, imagine he played politics pretty well, and he knew he knew who to keep happy and who to keep fat and who to keep rich in order to maintain what he wanted. Deceitful promises, it says. He'll make various alliances. He won't have many actual allies, but it seems like everybody's on his side. And it just seems like he's running a lot of deceit. And you could be amazed in a situation where there's as much turmoil and as much fighting as is going on in this situation. You could be amazed what a little bit of political prowess, the ability to give a compliment in the right way at the right time to the right person. You'd be amazed at what that could get for you. And clearly, whoever this king is who rose to power figured all that out. Okay, so verse 24. Without warning, he will enter the richest areas of the land. He will distribute among his followers the plunder and wealth of the rich, something his predecessors had never done. So he was going to, you all know Robin Hood, rob from the rich and give to the poor. Well, this guy's going to rob from the rich and give to his friends. That's a guy you want to watch out for sure. Because to him, and imagine, whoever this king is has grown up in a situation where there's a lot of war, a lot of death, just a horrendous situation. So while it's probably not the best thing for the empire to have somebody leading it who's going to get mine before you get it first, it's not really surprising that somebody like that would come to power because everything's in turmoil, everything's a mess. People who are trying to do things the right way get surpassed by people who are trying to do things the quick way. And this guy is going to cause a lot of trouble and cost a lot of lives. Okay. Without warning, he will enter the richest areas of the land. Then he will distribute among his followers the plunder and wealth of the rich, something his predecessors had never done. He will plot the overthrow of strongholds, but this will only last a short while. Why? Because normally people don't put up with this. When people get the idea that somebody's lining their own pockets off of their back, that's something that typically we aren't real happy with. And something that we want to watch out for because that can certainly cause a lot of controversy. So, okay. All right, it only lasts a short while. Verse 25. Then it will stir up his courage and raise a great army against the king of the south. Here we are back to this. The fight's still going on. The king of the south will go to battle with a mighty army, but to no avail. There will be plots against him, as there always are in situations like this. Again, remember, whoever this king is, this is how he rose to power in the first place. He took advantage of a situation where he, by flattery and cunning and politics, he got himself to be in charge. But he was only trying to use that position not to help the people, not to be a servant of the people. Certainly, he was there to take care of himself and his buddies. And so after he's tried a couple of things, he's basically robbing from the rich to give to his friends. He tried to go overthrow the coastlands. That didn't work out so well. He realized trying to create a coup in the other kingdom, that didn't work out, even though he probably got his daughter killed in that process. It doesn't tell us that, but that seems to be suggested. And so all of these things are happening, and it seems like he's getting thwarted on every side, but he's not getting overthrown. However, eventually, as these people in this kind of a situation always do, he ends up overplaying his hand. Okay. Verse 25. Then he will stir up his courage and raise a great army against the king of the south. The king of the south will go to battle with a mighty army, but to no avail, for there will be plots against him. His own household will cause his downfall. Is that a shock? Is that a shock to anybody to find out that a guy who has done this much debaucherous stuff, hurt that many people, sold out that many people, in fact, including probably even his own daughter, gotten people killed, robbed from the rich to give to his friends? Is it any surprise to any of the 33 of you logged in right now that this person had a family member who decided to knock them off, or at least decided to start working against them? I mean, that's what this guy's been doing to everybody all along, playing both ends against the middle. And that's exactly what he does. And finally, his own family says, we play this game too. Yep. All right, you guys got it. Okay. Hang on, I just totally lost my place. Okay, verse 26. His own household will cause his downfall. His army will be swept away, and many will be killed, seeking nothing but each other's harm. Now think about that. Think about some of the wars that we know in our, from our perspective. We got the Civil War, Revolutionary War, World War I, World War II, the Korean War, War of 1812, Vietnam, Desert Storm, Desert Shield. I mean, there have been a lot of wars and conflicts that we have been a part of. And we didn't enter into any of them with the sole purpose to say, we're just going to blow these guys off the face of the earth. Now, that might have been what we did, but that's not what, that wasn't our intent. When we were fighting the Civil War, we were fighting for purposes. We were fighting for causes. It says here, in no uncertain terms, verse 27, these two are going to fight each other because they hated each other. That's it. Those are the kind of fights you cannot win. Nobody's going to win here. A bunch of people are going to end up dead. Nobody's going to win. And, sounds a little like Caligula. You're going to have to remind me, Tim. Caligula, I can't remember who that is. Remind me who Caligula is. All right. So, seeking nothing but each other's harms, these kings will plot against each other at the conference table, attempting to deceive each other, but it will make no difference, for in the end will come at the appointed time. Now, soak in that last verse there, that last phrase there a little bit. These guys, and they're even going to meet at the conference table. They're going to try to hammer this out. They're going to try to negotiate. They're going to try to fight. They're going to kill each other. But you know what? None of it's going to work. Why? Because the end's going to come at the appointed time. Because who's the boss, friends? All this and this has been, 28 verses of chaos we've been reading here. Just absolute chaos. Danger, death, mayhem, destruction, just awful, awful things. Yet the end comes at the appointed time. Because even in this situation, when you got, it's a very specific historical events recorded here. What do we learn? It happens at God's time, because the end will come at the appointed time. Okay, and what will the end look like? Verse 28. The king of the north will return home with great riches, and on his way he will set himself against the people of the holy covenant. So he's going to pass through, Jerusalem and Israel, pass through these areas on his way home, and he felt kind of high on himself. I mean, he's got the money. He kind of felt like he won some stuff. Thought things were going well, so he's kind of excited and he's happy, and he's gone home. And he thought, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and conquer these Israelites too. I'm going to go ahead and knock them off. I'm going to go fight. I conquered the whole world basically. So now I'm going to go conquer the people of God. Wow, that's an amazingly bad choice. And that's really saying something in this situation where so many bad choices have already been made. Now we got a really, really bad choice going on here. So, all right. So I'm gonna destroy the people of the Holy Covenant, and he's gonna find out that that's probably not something he should have done. Verse 29. Then at the appointed time, he will once again invade the south, but this time the result will be different. For warships from western coastlands will scare him off, and he will withdraw and return home. But he will vent his anger against the people of the Holy Covenant and reward those who forsake the covenant. I mean, let's be real honest what's happening here. He's very upset. He got embarrassed by these warships from the west that came in and scared him off. So he's mad about that. So he decides to take his aggression out on the people of the covenant, and he's going to reward anybody who'll break the covenant and no longer follow God. And he, for some strange reason, expects that to go well. Okay, so what will he do? Verse 31. His army will take over the temple fortress, pollute the sanctuary, put a stop to daily sacrifices, and set up the sacrilegious object that causes desecration. There's been a lot of debate down through history exactly what that is. Because, again, Bronze Arms, who's been talking this whole time, has given some very specific things. And I see here Tim made a note about Caligula. Yep. Very well could have been Caligula. He was a guy who wasn't real popular. And but in all these things are fighting between the Persians and the Romans, and everybody's mad at who, and the kingdom here and the kingdom there, and the people of God get in the way, so we're going to wipe them out and whatever else. This is a lot of things going on. Again, I'll ask any of you who have a study Bible. In verse number 31, it says the sacrilegious object which causes desecration. It may have a note on what that is. I don't know that there's a scholarly consensus on what that was. I think it may have been Caligula, now that you mention it. But there was one of the Roman officials who, when he came to town, and again, he came in the midst of the Persians getting kicked out, and he ended up sacrificing a pig in the temple. And any of you know anything about the purity laws, that's a no-no of literally biblical proportions. And it may have been Caligula. I don't remember. It was one of them. But anybody have a note under what that sacrilegious object that causes desecration? I'm just curious. If not, we'll go on. But there's been a lot of conjecture on what that was. All right, I'm going to go on, and if somebody jumps in with something, I'll come back and comment on it. An altar set up for Zeus. Is that what your Bible said, Teresa? As you can imagine, that wouldn't have went over well, and Zeus would have been a Greek god at the time. Okay, so Doug's and Margie got the pig note that I said. Okay, yeah. Again, whatever it was, it did not fly. It did not go over well, and okay. So when this guy is causing all these problems, it says verse 32. Okay, so the pig. Okay, so it could have been the altar set up for Zeus, and then they sacrificed the pig on it. It could have been both things. So yeah, you guys got that. So, all right, verse 32. He will flatter and win over those who have violated the covenant. So to those who've turned their back on the covenant, meaning turn their back on God, the covenant being the covenant with Abraham at this point. Those who have turned their back on the covenant, he rewarded them. flattered and win them over and really appreciated them. But to the people who know their God, but the people who know their God will be strong and resist him. Okay, they're gonna turn it back. Wise leaders will give instructions to many, but these teachers will die by fire and sword, or they will be jailed and robbed. So people who are trying to turn people back to God, who are being a beacon of hope, trying to say, guys, stand strong and believe in God and practice your faith and pray and fast and all the stuff Daniel was saying. You can see what happened to them. They were killed. They were robbed and jailed and persecuted in many different ways. So people were very concerned about this. And again, many of you who've been asking about Revelation, if you know anything about Revelation, know that this sounds a lot like the stuff described in Revelation. Which, by the way, reminds me of another announcement I have to make. I'm going to write a note right now. I've been for 2 days trying to make an announcement that I just remembered. I wrote it down, so I'll make it when we're done here. Deb says, in my study notes, he is Antiochus IV Epiphanes. Again, we're not sure who he is because there's a number of emperors from both the Persian Empire and the Roman Empire who could conceivably fit here. But what that tells us is that you guys have all heard the saying that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. These empires who were ruling around this time, both the Persians and then the Romans later, man, they embodied that statement. That's why we have a hard time nailing down exactly who it was, is because so many of them fit various details of what's described here. And you'll notice nothing positive has been described at all. It's all about, trying to, debaucherous misconduct and all kinds of danger and just horrible stuff. And a lot of these guys were a party to that kind of thing. So, all right, verse 34. During these persecutions, little help will arrive, but many who join them will not be sincere. So they're going again with, ulterior motives. Verse 35. And some of the wise will fall victim to persecution. In this way, they will be refined and cleansed and made pure until the time of the end, for the appointed time is still to come. Soak that verse in a minute. Again, chaos, persecutions, horror, terror, awful things. But who's still the boss, right? Who's still calling the shots here? They're going to do all this thing, but they're still in a appointed time. This only gets to go on for so long. And if you get to decide how long something's going to go on for, that means you're the boss. And there will be an end to this. And again, let me make a modern parallel to this. COVID-19, friends, there's going to be an end to it. There will be an end. There will be a time that we will come back. And there will be a time that time is coming. We were talking about that before we really got started here tonight. When is that going to be? I don't know what the appointed time is. And by appointed, I mean appointed by God, not by people. So, but there will be a time. And I don't want any of you who are here, I don't want any of the 32 of you who are logged in right now to doubt that. There will be a time. We will come back. Now, there's going to be some stuff's going to have to happen, but there will be a time that we will come back, and we will be safe to come back. And so don't lose that. In fact, that's kind of what the sermon on Sunday is going to be about. I recorded it for First Light this morning, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about on Sunday too. Don't give up hope. A lot has been taken from us. I'm telling you, don't concede anything. Just give us some time. The good guys are going to win this one because the good guys always win. And so hang in there. All right. Sorry, you guys got me on a side note here. Verse 36. The king will do as he pleases, which the king often does. Doesn't always work out well, but the king always does what he pleases. exalting himself and claiming to be better than every god, even blaspheming, there's a word we don't use often, even blaspheming the God of gods. He will succeed, but only until the time of wrath is completed. For what has been determined will surely take place. Okay? So what Daniel or what Bronze Arms is saying here is that, look, things are going to get rough. Things are going to go difficult. Things are not going to go exceedingly well. However, man, God's got a couple of words he really likes to use. One of the words he really likes to throw around is the word yet. We'll have to talk about that word sometime. But also another word that God likes to use is however. It's always a however when God's involved. So yes, it's chaos. Yes, it's crazy. Yes, persecution. Yes, awful. However, things are going to change. And that's what Bronze Arms is trying to get Daniel to understand. Things are difficult now. Totally get that. You're totally correct. And in fact, it ain't even as bad as it's going to get. But just know that these seasons of suffering have a deadline. They end always. And God is going to reign supreme. So this king gets really high on himself, blasphemes God, and says just a lot of horrible things. This, honestly, stupidity. Why would you even do this? Even if you thought it was true, why would you even do this? Verse 37, he will have no respect for the gods of his ancestors. Okay, so even the gods of his own tradition, the ones he should really be respecting, he doesn't have any respect for them. So, I mean, this guy is super high on himself. He may want to disrespect the capital G God. That's a really horrendous idea, but it teach their own. But even his own gods, the ones he grew up with, the ones his parents worshipped, the one his people worshipped, he didn't even respect those gods. So this man who came to power had no respect for anybody. Again, it's like a bull in a china shop. Okay, so he had no respect for the God of his ancestors. He had no respect for the God loved by women. I'm not sure what that phrase means, but and for any other God, for he will boast he is greater than them all. Has there ever been, ever in the history of our planet, all the way back to the Garden of Eden, has there ever been a time when it was a good idea to boast about being better than everyone on earth, including all the gods and everything else? Has there ever been a time when that was a good idea? In case you're curious, the answer is no. That has never been a good idea, ever. Pride comes before the fall. We learn that in Proverbs, and that's the inevitability of boasting and the just terrible idea that it is. So, okay, so 38. Instead of these, meaning the gods of his own people, the one true God, all these other gods, instead of worshiping those like he really should, instead of these, verse 38, instead of these, he will worship the God of fortress. I'm sorry, he will worship a God of fortresses. A God of fortresses. I'm going to come back to that in a second. A God his ancestors never knew. And lavish on him gold, silver, precious stones, and expensive gifts. Claiming this foreign god's help, he will attack the strongest fortresses. He will honor those who submit to him, appointing them to positions of authority and dividing the land among them as a reward. He will worship the god of fortresses. Again, I'm going to ask you, yes, Tim, exactly. Talk about drawing a target on your back. And hey, Toby, how you doing, buddy? Talk about drawing a bullseye on your back. It's exactly right. Does anybody have a note on this God of fortresses thing in verse 38? Does anybody have a note on that? My guess is he's worshiping a military god. I mean, that's kind of what a fortress is, right? So he's worshiping a fortress. A fortress. I'm sorry. He's worshiping a war god, a god of war, and I'm not talking about the video game. So he's worshiping a god who is military might, military strength. Again, we've not seen a god like, okay, Jupiter or Zeus. So he's turning to the Greek gods. Okay. So so he's talking about worshiping a god that his ancestors had never known. So he creates God in his own image, which if you read Genesis is not how that's supposed to work. So he creates God in his own image, and he lavishes gifts, and he does sacrifices, and he does all this stuff. And man, he's really just super happy. And he will honor those who submit to him, appointing them to positions of authority and dividing the land among them as a reward. He's going to reward people for doing exactly what he did, right? He kissed butt to get to the top. And he flattered and gave gifts and paid compliments and was charismatic and whatever else. He did all these things so he could rise to the top. And I was really excited, thought that was really fantastic. And again, because that's the way he did it, he's going to reward other people who do it that way. Unfortunately, that is the stupidest idea of all. You want to know why? It's because understand what this king wanted to accomplish while he was doing those things. What was this king trying to do? He was trying to weasel his way to the top. He was, wanted to make his friends rich, and he wanted to glorify himself and build his own empire. And now he's rewarding people who are doing the same thing. I mean, this idea keeps getting worse. If anybody should know what kind of dastardly intention somebody has, it ought to be this guy. He should be suspicious of literally everyone. But he's not. Why? Because the guy's pretty full of himself. Thanks, Ange. A military stronghold. That's what they're looking for. Okay. So whatever god it is, whether it's Jupiter or Zeus or it's Ares or Mars, the gods of war, whoever, he has created this new thing, and he has created God in his own image, which again, according to Genesis chapter 1, is not how that's supposed to work. Okay. All right, so let's find out what happens to this guy. Verse 40. Then at the time of the end, the king of the south will attack the king of the north. I mean, big surprise there. It's what they've been doing the whole time. The king of the north will storm out with chariots, charioteers, and a vast navy. He will invade various lands and sweep over them like a flood. He will enter the glorious land of Israel, and many nations will fall, but Moab, Edom, and the best part of Ammon will escape. They will conquer many countries, and even Egypt will not escape. He will gain control over the gold, silver, and treasures of Egypt. Remember how rich Egypt was. I mean, think back to the Joseph study. He made Egypt super rich. And so this king is going to come in and conquer all that. He will gain control over the gold, silver, and treasures of Egypt, and the Libyans and Ethiopians will be his servant. But then news from the east and the north will alarm him, and he will set out in great anger to destroy and obliterate many. All of you who are here, all 31 of you who are logged in here at the moment, you know very well that, or in your life, you have met very prideful people. And I don't mean, I mean that in the most negative way possible. People who are arrogant and really high on themselves. You've all met them. And I would bet every single arrogant person you've ever met is also an extremely angry person. Somebody who will just fly off the handle at a moment's notice because they expect things in their world to go exactly how they want them to. And if anything in their world doesn't go how they want them to, it gets, shall we say, a very, very sharp response. And that's what we see here. So he heard, it says, it's interesting. He says, but news from the east and the north will alarm him. He will set out in great anger to destroy and obliterate many. He will stop between the glorious holy mountain and the sea and will pitch his royal tents. While he is there, his time will suddenly run out and no one will help him. Okay. This is another one of those places, and I always point these out, where the Bible seems to leave something out. All this has happened. Bronze Arms has been very specific about what's going to go on, what's going to happen, how these attacks are going to go, who's going to attack who and when and why and how and all this stuff. And then it's like, so now this king gets a text on his phone. He's like, oh, my word. We're going to have to go deal with this. And he never tells anybody what it was. I don't know what the news was. Isn't it interesting that the king was so ready to just go kill all those guys, and it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter what the message was. You know, did they send him an emoji he didn't like? Maybe they made a meme about him. I don't know. Whatever it was, they got really upset. So while he's going up to deal with this, meaning go kill everybody who angered him, let's go on to verse 12. I'm going to try to push through the rest of this so we can do fighting tomorrow night. Daniel chapter 12. At that time, okay, so again, let me just set the stage. He's moving out there. He sets up his tents to spend the night apparently someplace or get ready for a battle plan against these people he hates so much. At that time, Michael, the archangel, you guys remember the guy we don't mess with? The archangel who stands guard over your nation, Daniel, will arise. And there will be a time of anguish greater than any since the first nations came into existence. But at that time, every one of your people whose name is written in the book will be rescued. Does this sound familiar? Revelation speaks very, very much like this. Everybody whose name is in the book of life will be rescued. Many of those whose body lie dead and buried will rise up, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting disgrace. Those who are wise, meaning those who follow the God with a capital G, will shine as bright as the sky, and those who lead many to righteousness will shine like stars forever. God, that is a beautiful image. Isn't that a beautiful image? Somebody jump in the comments and tell me that's a beautiful image, because that is great. It says, those who have led many to righteousness will shine like stars forever. Remember who Bronze Arms is talking to. Talking to Daniel. And Daniel has led many to righteousness and sustained the people of God through some really horrendous situations. Managed to convert 2 foreign kings. And so now Bronze Arms, the angel, is saying, and those who have pointed people toward righteousness will shine like stars forever. Jeez, if we all could be so lucky, right? Okay, so that's what he says. Verse 4. But you, Daniel, keep this prophecy a secret. Yet again. I love this and I hate it at the same time. Okay? So the one thing the Bible does not do very well. Am I allowed to say that? The one thing that the Bible just would struggle with is if the Bible was writing a movie script. Okay? Because look what happens here. We've had an entire chapter. I mean, a chapter that started here, went this entire page, and then this entire page here. It's the longest chapter in Daniel. And the whole time has been fighting, mayhem, threat, destruction, backbiting, selling each other out, stabbing each other in the back. Just horrible, terrible stuff for all this time. And finally, this news comes in, and the king's like, I'm going to get those fools from the east and the north, man. They're going to pay. They're going to be dead, and I'm going to line them up and feed them to vultures. He's traveling up there, and his time ran out. Michael's going to deal with them. Now, Daniel, I want you to – it's like, wait a second. What happened? What happened? And Bronze Arms is like, the battle was so insignificant that it didn't even matter. I'm not even going to tell you about it. Michael just crushed them. They all died. That's it. Thanks for that story. It would be like Avengers Endgame without the sequence at the end where all the Avengers fought the guys of Thanos. It's like, yeah, they did all this stuff to try to save the world and all these things, and then they killed Thanos. And you're like, hold up, I wanted to see that. Nah, it's not even that. It wasn't even that big of a deal. Oh my gosh, the best part of the story. So, I mean, apparently this battle with Michael was so one-sided, was so not a thing that it was really over before it started. Well, thanks for that, guys. Appreciate it. Gotta love that, man. That's what happens when you're powerful. So powerful that when you show up, you already won. And remember, this king was the one who was going around saying, I'm greater than everybody. Well, guess what, dude? Not only were you wrong, you were really wrong. Because all Michael did was say, that's enough. And guess what? It was enough. So anyways, thanks for that there, Bronze Arms. That was a nice build up to nothing. So, all right, so here we go. All right, so after Michael, the archangel who stands guard over your nation will arise, and there will be a time of anguish. I've already read all this. All right, verse 4. But you, Daniel, keep this prophecy a secret, seal it up in the book until the end of time, when many will rush here and there, and knowledge will increase. Then I, Daniel, looked and saw two others standing on the opposite banks of the river. One of them asked the man dressed in linen, who was now standing above the river, how long will it be until these shocking events occur? I'm sorry, how long will it be until these shocking events are over? The man dressed in linen, who was standing above the river, raised both hands toward heaven and took a solemn oath by the one who lives forever. It will go on for time, times, and half a time, when the shattering of the holy people has come to an end, and all these things have happened. What did I tell you about times, time, and half a time? What does that mean? What is time, times, and half a time? That means something very specific. What does it mean? What does time, times, and half a time mean? It means something very, very specific. We talked about this earlier in the study. Anybody remember what that means? It means 3.5, means it ain't done. So whatever happens here is not over. So this will go on for time, times, and half a time, meaning all the fighting that went on earlier, it ain't over. It ain't over in a good way. Meaning, I mean, you've heard the expression, it's not over till the fat lady sings. It's kind of like this. It's about being able to dictate what's going to happen. And Michael, he dictates what's going to happen. When the shattering of the holy people comes to an end and all these things will happen. Verse 8. I heard what he said, but I did not understand what he meant. So I asked, how will this finally end, my Lord? But he said, go now, Daniel, for what I have said is kept secret and sealed till the end of time. Many will be purified, cleansed, and refined by these trials, but the wicked will continue in their wickedness, and none of them will understand. Only those who are wise will know what it means. From the time the daily sacrifice is stopped, and the sacrilegious object that causes desecration is set up to be worshipped, there will be 1,290 days, aka 3.5 years. And blessed are those who wait and remain till the end of the 1,335 days. For you will go, as for you, Daniel, you will go your way until the end. You will rest. And then, at the end of days, you will rise again to receive the inheritance set aside for you. Beautiful. Gosh, beautiful again. You know, Bronze Arms has some very nice things to say to Daniel about what's going to happen. And make no mistake, through all of this chaos, God is in control. Don't ever forget that. And that's what Bronze Arms was trying to get Daniel to remember. And to tell Daniel, you're going to shine like a star in the sky, and you're going to have rest. At the end of days, you're going to raise up, and you're going to receive a great inheritance. I mean, what a beautiful, what a beautiful thing to have an angel say to you. I mean, that is fabulous. So if we could all be so lucky. So, all right, guys, what do you think? I know I kind of rushed through some of the end of that, but it got to be a little repetitive there toward the end. You guys all with me still? Yeah, we lost a few people out. How are we all doing? Here's the announcement I wanted to make, and I meant to make this 2 days ago, and I forgot. It must have been about a year ago, maybe a little longer. I wrote a devotional on Revelation. It was a devotional I did, I believe, for Lent a year ago, I think, or maybe it was, I don't remember. But I have a devotional that I wrote on Revelation. It's kind of a daily devotional that is set up on the book of Revelation. So I don't, after doing this, I'm not sure I want to try to do Revelation, at least not yet in this format. But if you're interested in reading more about Revelation and want to hear some more of my comments on it, I'll be happy to email you a copy of the book I have. I can email it to you, and it's, like I said, it's a daily devotional, and it's something you can read every day, and it's got some comments by me in it. And if any of you are interested in that, I would be more than happy to share it with you. The easiest way is if you want a copy of it, send me an email and just ask for it, and I'll just attach it and send it to you. So if you would like to have a copy of that devotional book on Revelation, just send me an email and tell me that, and I will I'll drop it to you in an email. It may not be till tomorrow, but I'll get it to you. So yeah, just email me and tell me you'd like a copy of it, and I will see that you get one. So okay. And yes, thank you, Amy. Give me a thumbs up before you go. Hang on, there's a few comments here I missed. Cheryl says he talks about waiting for the end of time, and Daniel was not to talk about it. So when did the story get told so it would be in the Bible? Okay, one of the things that we got to understand is this whole, gosh, it's late. I'm going to say this, and you're just going to have to trust me on this. We Americans in 20th century North America, we conceive of time as a line. You know, we see it as a straight line. We're kind of the first culture to ever really do that. Most cultures all saw time as cyclical. That's the way the Mayans saw time. You know, a couple of years ago when the Mayan calendar ran out and everybody thought we were doomed, that's because they saw time as cyclical. If you went back, jumped in a time machine and went back to the Mayan culture and said, hey, what about this end of time? They'd be like, end of a circle? I don't get that. So, and you think everything was seasonal and everything was all that. So for them, it would have been the end of a phase of time, not the end of time as we conceive of it, where time stops and you drive off the end. That's not the way they would have seen it. They would have seen it as an end of a cycle of time, where the world would have come full circle and restarted. So that's what they would have meant by the end of time. Our concept of the end of time, how the world will be destroyed, is some kind of fiery fireball or whatever. That's not something that people in the ancient world would have had any concept of. They didn't conceive of time that way. So when they say the end of time, they meant the end of the prophecy as they interpreted it. Now, do I believe that there is more interpretation to Daniel than just in their time period? Well, clearly I do, because I just spent 7 days on it with you, or even more than that. So clearly, I think there's more to be said here. But their concept of time ran like this, where ours runs like this. And which one is right? I don't know. Pick one. But it's the idea is that God is functioning in time. And when they say the end of time, they simply mean the end of an age, the end of a cycle of time. So the story would have been told when Daniel was told to tell it, and that is once that cycle of time was over. So, all right, let me go up here and see if I missed any more. Yeah, 100-0 football game, Tim. That's exactly what Michael versus those guys would have been. All right, very good. All right. Anybody else got anything for the good of the order? Like I said, if you would like a copy of, and there is no time in eternity. That's right. That's why the Bible can say things like a day is 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as a day to God, because the time is irrelevant. So you're welcome, Joe and Marcia. You guys are certainly welcome. Thanks for being here, and thanks for learning how to run YouTube. I'm really proud of you guys. So, all right. Like I said, if you'd like a copy of that Revelation thing, devotional, drop me an email and ask for it. I'll be happy to see that you get one. And we'll go from there. So I appreciate all of you being here. Again, you honor me with your presence. Tomorrow night, if you want to read ahead, we're going to look at Philemon. We're going to have a wonderful discussion on a wonderful book that we are afraid of today because it's, at least at face value, it does not appear to be politically correct. But that's because people don't read it close enough. And I'll show you exactly how that works tomorrow. So Philemon will be our thing, and it's a one chapter thing, so it's something we can easily cover in one night. So I think you'll enjoy the conversation because it's a great little book. So, all right, everybody. Well, there'll be some information coming out about services hopefully tomorrow, and we'll be back here tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. We're going to take a 23-hour break and be ready for tomorrow night. So hopefully you all come back. You guys honor me with your presence. Sincerely, thank you for spending your evening with me. I thank you so much. I appreciate you all being here. I want everybody to have a good night's sleep tonight, and I want you to have a great day tomorrow. Don't get too soggy while you're out there running between the raindrops. Guys, I love you all very much. Thank you for all that you are and who you are, and I look forward to being back with you tomorrow night. And in the immortal words of Tim Dickey, go wash your hands.